Barcelona just beat Celta Vigo 4-3. They just pulled off a real remontada. And no, this isn't about what Real Madrid is talking about. We went down, we went bleeding, we were broken, but somehow Barcelona, yes, we found a way back. You're about to see a comeback with an extraordinary hero, but also a massive price to pay. This game was a thriller. It had absolutely everything, but it was also a very big warning, an alert for what is to come for Barcelona. The final score, 4-3, the real story buried in every single goal. Let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? BugaLuis here. Welcome back to another video here on the channel. And yes, Barcelona, for me, they showed today once again why they are the best team in the world. They may be shaky, yes, they may be causing some troubles in the defense, but they show up. They show up, and the scoring prowess of this team, with Lewandowski or not in the team, it doesn't really matter. You know, they will always come back and they will score. They have character. The mentality of this team is different, and it shows. It showed on today. I think that's the main key important thing that you have to take away from this game, but there's so much more that we have to break down, but just like we always do. Let's start off right away where it all began. At the start of the game, with the starting 11, Hansi Flick entered this game. He wanted to rotate, you know, because Celta Vigo was going to be a difficult game, needless to say the least, but we certainly had to rotate a bit, you know. Players were showing signs of fatigue in the last game against Dortmund. They were showing signs of fatigue in the previous game before that. So certainly there had to be some rotations in place. Yet Hansi Flick decided to go with a very strong 11. And let's see how Barcelona lined up. They went on with Szczesny, Jules Koundé, Pau Cubarsí, Íñigo Martínez, and Gerard Martin as the defense. They went with Frankie de Jong, Pedri, and Fermín López in the midfield, and with Raphinha, Lewandowski, and Ferran Torres. The only big name player we could say that was rested for this game was Lamine Yamal. I think that we heard Hansi Flick in the press conference say something very, very important for me, and that is that he's going to take the word from the player very sincerely. He wants honesty and communication from the team. He wants the players to let him know how they are feeling when approaching this game. So maybe Lamine Yamal said, you know what, I know you're going to put a strong 11, but I need rotation. So it's good on that. I'm surprised that Flick didn't rotate more players, but at the end of the day, that's what happened. So I think that he knew the importance of this match, and at the end of the day, that's why he's the manager. He's the guy making the big decision, not just this guy right here in the screen. You know, it's a German. It's Hansi Flick over there making the big decision. Celta Vigo went on with Vicente Guaita. They went with Rodríguez, Joel Lago, who we're going to talk about later on. They went with Marcos Alonso, Carreira, Beltrán, Duran, Alex Moriba, yeah, our Moriba, Lozada, Sweatberg, and Borja Iglesias, who managed to score a hat-trick. Yes, indeed, a hat-trick. It's not the very first time that Barcelona concede a hat-trick against a player, but they end up winning the game. I can name 3 times, I think, already this season. Against Borja Iglesias, against against Guirassy in Dortmund recently, and we also have one more. Can you guys let me know in the comment box down below? There's one more occasion where Barcelona conceded a hat-trick against a player this season, but they still end up winning the game. I'm not too sure where it is or when was it, but I'm pretty sure it happened. Anyhow, I wanted to talk about, first of all, about Ferran, because he was the player who stole the show very early on in the very first half. Ferran started again and he scored. I think the most important thing that we can take away is that whenever Ferran starts or whenever he gets minutes, he will always get his chance. He will always make the best of that opportunity. And that for me is what really defines a super sub. He already has 10 goals in La Liga this season, and he hasn't been a regular starter in the side. That's impressive. That's really, really cool. That's a GOAT status right there. I really do like what I'm seeing from Ferran Torres. I think that Hansi Flick has been able to get to the player and really send a good message through. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Ferran. He's a pure athlete, and that's what I'm liking for Ferran. He never really complains. He has that shark mentality that we all know that he likes to talk about, and I even have adopted. You can see the description here on this YouTube channel. It's literally, we are a fan of El Tiburón Torres. We are a fan of El Tiburón. We are a fan of Ferran Torres, and I really do praise that. After that, though, after that goal from Ferran Torres, very, very shortly after, which was a very, very nice finish by Ferran Torres. So after that goal came the goal from Borja Iglesias, which was a goal which, to be honest, I think it was a little bit of a mistake from Czech. Was it a flop? Was it a fault on that first goal? I want you guys to debate. I want you to let me know in the comments down below, because that goal really changed up absolutely everything. It wasn't just Szczesny. It was a problem that was deeper than that. Suddenly, Celta Vigo started smelling blood. And that's where things got a little bit ugly, and they got ugly very fast. That's where I want to pose the question for you guys, because when I saw that, I can kind of sort of signal out some mistakes from Szczesny already this season. And I want to make that question. I want to put on this facade. I want to know, is Szczesny actually that much of an improvement over Marc-André ter Stegen? I know he's having a tremendous season, and maybe this may not be the moment after, you know, his first defeat in the season after a mistake here in this game against Celta Vigo. But guys, is he actually an upgrade over ter Stegen? That's where I want to know, because I think that ter Stegen, being injured or not, I still think he's a better keeper. If you can get ter Stegen back to the best form that he is, I think that, yeah, he's probably right up there. He's really, really a good goalkeeper. And we cannot let that happen. Before ter Stegen got injured, the whole trajectory that he's had at this club, I think there's really a possibility to even make the statement, the argument, he's one of the best goalkeepers Barcelona has ever had. Yeah, I wanted to pose that question for you guys, because there's certain mistakes that I know Szczesny has, but instantly Szczesny redeemed himself even after, with 2 amazing saves back-to-back from Celta Vigo. I mean, that is what Szczesny gives you. I think that Szczesny gives you that consistency, and I'm sort of backtracking a little bit on it, but there are certain instances where the harsh thing for a goalkeeper is that the goalkeeper, you have one job. And if you fail at it, if you fail at that particularly just one single moment, if you make that mistaken calculation of, let's say, projecting yourself, are you going to get to that ball and you miss that, you miscalculate that distance, you failed. And in Szczesny, in this instance, he did the very same thing against Benfica, and he's been certain instances where he's done that as well. So yeah, I just wanted to get that across. And well then, we know, like I mentioned, Celta Vigo smelled blood. They came back and they scored a second goal. This time around, it was from a bad touch from Frankie de Jong. This is something that the high line of Hansi Flick is always going to be leaving you vulnerable. You know, the high line is always going to be punished. And Borja Iglesias, being the poacher that he is, he's always going to be dangerous. He always floats in and around, you know, the offside line. He always likes to play around with it. He likes to tease the defenders of whether he's going to be on or offside. And that's how the second goal came. It was a very bad touch by de Jong. I agree. It was horrible. But in other instances for other teams, this is something that particularly, it might not really cost them that much. But in the case of Barcelona, because of the high line, it really pains us to see. It really, really does. Is our high line then, guys, too risky for the Champions League? That's a sort of question that I kind of wanted to ask you, because when we look at what Celta Vigo is doing in this game, I really do think it's a warning, because Inter de Milan do this particularly very similarly, but 10 times better. Is this high line too risky for the Champions League? Is this too risky for, you know, getting us to the top of the top, the cream of the crop where we want to be? Hansi Flick won't change it. That's one thing that we know it for sure. And I don't particularly want it to be changed, because I do think that Hansi Flick knows what he's doing. But I cannot bear to see that some instances we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle because of the high line, because we don't have the players right now imposed to do it. And one of the big contributors to that has to be the substitution from, well, not the substitution, the injury to Alejandro Balde. I think Alejandro Balde's injury is the most underrated disaster of the season. I have absolutely no problem in saying that. We are one injury away from collapse again. If he gets injured and he doesn't reach the semifinals, this team is collapsed. This team relies so much on our left back. We saw it as well with Hansi Flick and the left back in his Bayern Munich team that was Alphonso Davies. They are such a pivotal part for ball progression, but simply because of the pace that these players have, they're able to return and feed their place back in the defense so easily. You know, Gerard Martin, he has not been showing enough so far this season to be a regular for the next few years. I really do think that. And I think that this game against Celta Vigo showed that quite a lot. You know, Gerard Martin does not have the level to be a Barcelona player, period. He has improved. He has gotten better. He has become a player where I can rely on him for games, some instances. But if I want a team to come back, if I want a team to function, if I want a team to be the very best it can be, yeah, I cannot have someone like Gerard Martin. Gerard Martin does not really make anybody else better in this team. It makes the people surrounding him worse. Balde is someone that makes Raphinha play better. That's simple as that. That's a fact. I don't need you guys to see that. You know, you all know that's true. So yeah, that's a problem for me right now when I'm thinking of what's gonna happen for the next few games. I need desperately to see Balde back, because Gerard Martin right now, it's a big liability, a huge liability. Gerard Martin, I'm not kidding you, might be the difference from winning a treble and ended up with absolutely nothing. At this stage of the game, it really just looked lost. The team just had no momentum. They had no control. Players like Raphinha was being ineffective. He really had poor passive, bad decision making. And I just thought, once again, is the fatigue. Once again, is that creeping in. That mentality of way too much, you know, that comfort, it just never really improved. And I was getting a little bit worried. I really was getting a little bit worried because, for instance, someone like Ilaix Moriba, and let's talk about what even happened to Ilaix Moriba. You know what? He left Barcelona in 2021, and I thought I really put all my eggs in that basket. I thought Moriba was going to be the second coming from Pogba, and he was going to be a stellar player for Barcelona. And we saw a little bit of that today. He really was controlling that midfield, and he was getting all over the pitch. And I think we saw a little bit of what we lost, but ultimately it wasn't that decisive. It wasn't that decisive because at the end of the day, Barcelona at the end could come back. But I wanted to give a little bit of point to that, you know, because I was just really surprised. It's one of those players that we let go, and rightly so, because of the way that he, you know, managed his contract situation. But I just wanted to give a little bit of a insight on that. I just thought we could have done with that player once in a while, a long time ago. It's just interesting how it turned around. So should Ilaix Moriba return to Barcelona? Hell no. Hell no, because we have two players in the bench that change up absolutely everything. And I'm more than happy to say that I think this game has helped us found the starting 11, you know, the team that can get us the big trophies, the big rewards at the end of the season. The minute was 59, and Dani Olmo and Lamine Yamal came in. They came in for Fermín López and Ferran Torres, and suddenly everything changed. We needed rhythm. We needed a little bit of more controlled tempo, but we got chaos instead with these two players. But somehow it worked. Lamine came in, everything flipped. Dani Olmo came in, he scored the very first goal. I mean, the control, the timing, the impact, the Raphinha assist, everyone started to play better. Soon enough came the second goal. Lamine, instant impact, dribble, cross, again, header from Raphinha. Suddenly, Raphinha looked like a Ballon d'Or winger again. Because I was saying this, in the past 3 games, ever since the international break, I think Raphinha hasn't been to his best level. But this game, oh my goodness, he came back. And he came back like the true winger that I know can lift that award. Not the Brazilian, the fake Brazilian from last season. I'm talking a better version of that. This is where I realized, you know what, Hansi Flick has found the team. Hansi Flick has found the team. If not only for Gerard Martin, I think this is our starting 11. I think this is the best side that Barcelona can have currently at the moment. Unfortunately, I do not know how much longer we'll be able to have it because there was a vibe killer. Lewandowski got injured, and that's a very big price to pay. It seems that this injury, I'm not too sure at the moment of recording this video, how long is it going to be? Let's hope it's just not really that bad. But after that, really the game slowed down quite a bit. Celta slowed it down. They defended a lot deeper. Barcelona began to hold possession a lot more, and they got a little bit frustrated because they just couldn't break it down. Without a main guy in the box like Lewandowski, it's really hard to, you know, create space, to have somebody to create space, to make runs off the ball, to open up the defense, because the defenders of Celta Vigo, well, they just don't have anyone to reference, nobody big enough to mark. So that's where I think Hansi Flick should have tried to maybe called upon a second striker, called upon someone like Ansu Fati. Unfortunately, he went on for Pau Victor. I would have liked to see Ansu Fati. I think I just was reading the narrative. Ansu Fati coming back, trying to get the win, gets the winner, and then he becomes crucial for Barcelona's incredible run in the Champions League or whatnot. It just didn't happen. But Barcelona pressing, constantly knocking on the door, desperately going for it. 90th minute, 8 minutes on top of the clock. And yeah, then we saw the penalty, chaos, tension, and Raphinha steps up. I think this is the moment that, once again, I think a lot of Barcelona fans were waiting. No Lewandowski, who's going to be scoring the penalty, who's going to be taking it. The penalty was very sloppy from Joel Lago, the center back from Celta Vigo. He had been annoying all match on Lewandowski, and he gave us this one final gift. A foul, the penalty, the man of the moment, Raphinha stepped up from 0 in this game, I have to admit, to an absolute 0. Raphinha scores. And this is the kind of remontada that Real Madrid hopes they would have done it in the Champions League this week. This is real. This is the sort of club that actually can do it, because we have something that they don't, and that's hard. You want a drama, and this is the Blaugrana sort of drama that only this club can give. Raphinha, which I doubted in these past few games, he answered, and I think that's the loudest silence in a penalty you'll ever hear after that. Raphinha just doing his typical celebration, win or draw, all on the line. And this was it. And he took it. And I just love it. I just love it. And I want to ask this question. Should Raphinha be our penalty taker from now on? Should he be our penalty taker from now on? Because I think when I looked at Barcelona, and we've seen plenty of players already, like even Koundé with his Kings League team, he's missed that penalty. He's missed with France in the Nations League. Lewandowski, we see if he's injured. I don't know. I think Raphinha might be it. I think Raphinha has to be our penalty kick taker from now on. And I think that we need to start to rely a lot more on Dani Olmo. Let's see if injuries do serve him correctly, because I do want to see that. And certainly, so far, I think it's one of our most emotional games. I really do feel that. And my goodness, he's such a leader, what Raphinha is doing here. And we haven't even talked about Lamine Yamal, and there's probably not going to be time to talk about Lamine Yamal, but it's so clutch what Raphinha is doing this season, and him with Lamine, Dani Olmo today, they just all really did incredible things, and they keep the treble dream alive. And I think that things like this, wins like this, they give you the attitude to finally, explode and become the most entertaining team in Europe, to be the winners, to be what we all want, and that's to be champions of Europe. And I think that we can dream because of moments like this. So final score 4-3, mistakes, but also moments of key brilliance. Raphinha, MVP, getting the yellow card, shouting to Iago Aspas. You love to see it. Olmo, Lamine, they are instant impact players. Ferran Torres at an amazing level. Everything, this team is alive. It's alive, but we have to watch and see what Lewandowski injury is gonna give us. We need to be a little bit worried about that, and I'll give you an update as soon as I know about it. So yeah, Madrid might talk about remontadas, but tonight Los Culés and Barcelona actually lift one. So yeah, guys, see you in the next one. Take care. Ciao, ciao.